Hello everyone. Today on this educational video, I am going to be speaking about the importance of social emotional learning and its tie to choice in the classroom. I reached out on Twitter last week to my educational friends and asked what sort of content they wanted me to cover to help them in their classrooms, and I got an abundance of really great topics. I put some of those together. I put a list of my next videos covering the topics that people wanted to hear about, and that's what you're going to be seeing in the next few weeks on this YouTube channel for my educational videos. Today, we are going to be speaking about the importance of social emotional learning and the way that it ties to student choice. So first, let's talk about the importance of social emotional learning in the classroom. Now, the basis of social emotional learning, there's a lot of little tenets of it, but the three we're going to kind of focus on today is, number one, it allows students to set goals that they can be confident in. Number two, it allows students to manage emotions. And the third amazing thing we're going to talk about for social emotional learning today is that it builds relationships in the classroom. Okay, I'm going to give you three things that you can do to kind of increase the social emotional learning in your classroom, and they all have to do with student choice. The first one, and I'm going to try popping these in here as I go, is don't hug yourself. What does that mean? Well, I went to a gamification conference a couple summers ago, and one of the things that I took from that conference that stuck with me, and probably will always stick with me, is that as educators, we can't hug ourselves with the things we give our students. We love what we love. Maybe you're a Harry Potter fan. Maybe you're an Edgar Allan Poe fan. Maybe you're a fan of Barry Manilow, whatever it may be, and you feel like your students are going to love this thing as much as you do. So that's what you give them in the instruction. You are giving them Poe after Poe. You are playing Barry Manilow song after Barry Manilow song. I tried to teach with Magic the Gathering at some point because I love Magic the Gathering, and I thought my kids would just eat it up. It's a game. It's fun. I love it. Why wouldn't they? They didn't. And I can tell you that story later, but it kind of fell flat on its face. And the reason it did was because I was hugging myself. I was not willing to open myself up to what the students wanted. So the first thing I'm telling you here in your goal to kind of creating more student choice is that you have to ask the students what they like. You have to ask the students what they're into. You have to give them the choice of what materials they want covered in the class. If you're not doing that and you're just giving them the things you love, you're hugging yourself, and you're probably not going to see as much success or buy-in or creating those relationships as you would. All right. Number two that I'm going to talk about today, and this one kind of goes through my experiences with comics, but you can also relate this to anything you are doing in your classroom. I used to do free read Fridays in my comics and graphic novels course. I'm still going to do it when I have the opportunity to, but what it was is I would bring in literally hundreds of comics and graphic novels that I deemed classroom appropriate, and I would book talk as many as I could, and on Fridays, I would just let the students read whatever they wanted to. They would pick a graphic novel or a comic. If they didn't like it, they'd put it back and pick another one. What they were doing was they were developing their taste for the medium. I was giving them opportunities just to read for fun, developing readers, and I would read with them. And if I found a book I found was interesting or a student would like, I would go give it to that student. It's easy with comics, I suppose, because I was able to bring in my collection and have just an abundance of comics in my room, but you can do this with other disciplines as well. The main thing about this is allowing those students to have the freedom of choice to read and use that class period time however they wanted to. It built up their confidence as readers. It definitely built a positive relationship with me and them, knowing that on Fridays they were going to come in and we were just going to read. And you know what? The cell phones got put away. Once we developed this culture and they found things they actually liked to read, they had the choice to go select things. I didn't have any classroom management problems. Students weren't sleeping. They were all reading comics. And what happened was they were asking me for more. So if I only had a Spider-Man run up to issue 7, they would ask me to go pick up the rest of it. And I would, because I was developing that classroom environment, right? I was not having any assignments or assessments attached to those free read Fridays, because I understand that we all need mental brain breaks too. So we all looked forward to those things because of the choice, because there was no stress involved in it. It was a really cool choice for that social emotional gear turn in my classroom. The third thing I'm going to talk to you about today, after this student choice of what to read and kind of giving them freedoms on a day of the week to explore and create on their own is you have to, and this kind of goes along with not hugging yourself as well. And the second point is you have to create projects and assessments with the students in mind. Not only with them in mind, you have to create those projects with your students. If you have an assessment or an assignment that you need to create, why not make it a group experience? Why not get them involved in the decision-making process of the things how they're going to show you that they've mastered this learning? If you just give them a single project or a single book, that creates stress, right? Because now they have to do this one thing that they might not be good at. You might be good at it. Maybe that comes back to hugging yourself. You're going to give them this one book and say, everybody needs to read this one book. Why? If it's because you need to have commonality in the lesson planning and in the vocabulary, you can do that with students reading different books. You can go into lit circles. Maybe students get a choice of only 3 different books. And then they get, at least there's a choice there. And then you can create those assessments based around those 3 books that you know about. So you can speak to all 3 of those novels. I have found tremendous success in allowing my students to help me in creating the assessments and assignments and the readings in my classroom. Now, this is more than the illusion of choice. I've been to a couple PDs where there's been people who have told me, you want to shape your questions and your attitude toward your students so that they come up with the answers you want them to come up with. It really bothers me when people say that. That is the illusion of choice, and any student who is really paying attention is going to understand that you led them to that, and that's kind of not cool. So when I'm talking about student choice to create honest relationships in your classroom, to make students more confident, and to just manage the emotions of everybody involved, they need to be authentic. So you need to create those authentic experiences for your students that all revolve around choice. So I'm talking for about 6 minutes here. I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I just kind of wanted to get out there and let you know that you should not be hugging yourself, that when you can, give your students options and choice to explore and create in the classroom that's not tied to any assessment, that is just for them to develop themselves as a reader, as a person, as a learner. We need to do those things. And then the third thing we kind of talked about today, recapping, is this idea of creating assessments and projects with your students and not for your students, okay? So get them involved in the creation of all of those things, including the rubrics, because we want to create authentic experiences for our students. We don't want to give them the illusion of choice. We want to actually give them choice, because when you do that, they're going to buy into you, they're going to buy into your classroom and the things you are putting in front of them, and the emotions are going to be managed without even trying. All right, so thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you found this educational or informative in any way. I'm going to be doing I'm going to try to be doing more of these. I have educational videos every Wednesday, review videos every Friday of comics and graphic novels, and hopefully more and more to come. Thanks for watching.